Yes, that's absolutely true. The SEC had to do it, but now the ACC has to do it. Now that the SEC did it, the ACC has to do it too, because this is getting ridiculous.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nick DiMartino. That's Zain That's Will Charlton. And this is another edition of Forever Power 5 Season 2. First episode number 1 of Season 2 of Forever Power 5. And you can watch, you can follow this show across social media at FP5ETB on Twitter and Instagram. And on TikTok, it's at Forever Power 5, one word. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick DiMart, Will at Will Charlton H13, and Zan on Twitter at ZanBando99. You can watch all Empty Event shows on YouTube.com/ETB Network. You can listen to Forever Power 5 wherever you get your podcast, and this show is presented by Playback. Stay tuned for later in the show to find out more. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right. So, we lead the show off with some interesting news. The SEC, they're moving to a 9-conference schedule.
About time. About time.
Yeah, it's about time.
I never thought this would happen. By the way, where is the ACC in all of this? Because people forget, I feel like the SEC having 8 conference games overshadowed the fact that the ACC also did the same thing. It's just conferences with a bunch of teams that play in the South. The Southeast region of the country just seem to just play 8 conference games. I mean, the funny thing about it is that, I feel like the SEC can justify it a little more than the ACC, because at least the SEC for most of my lifetime was the strongest conference in college football, and is now still, at least arguably, you can say it's the strongest conference in college football.
100%.
For sure.
And the ACC has been outside of 1 or 2 teams, my entire lifetime has been one of the weaker conferences. And what's their justification for playing 8 in-conference games? So my thing is, I feel like college football, in a weird way to me, there's too much anarchy, too much conferences making their own rules. I feel like there needs to be more not necessarily top-down rules, but at least something more uniform. You know what I mean? Every road, you drive on one side of the the rules of every road are almost the same. You know what I mean? We don't have streets where you drive on the left side and then there's another one where you drive on the right side. It would just be too chaotic. Mm-hmm. That's what it's like in college football, with every conference making all their own rules. So I think there should be some type of uniform standard. Every conference plays 9 games, right? That's how it should be.
I agree.
Yeah, I think uniform standard is a big thing, and I think it just takes the fluff out of it too. Really, I just think I just think overall, even them moving to 9 conference games is a big thing. But now there's going to be the people who are going to complain and say, "Oh, we liked it when it was 8," or we think that our schedule is going to be too much of a gauntlet." There will be those people that are going to come out and say those things. I think it's just a matter of now. I think this is almost a message sender to the rest of college football that it's clear that the SEC wants to remain one of the 2 top dogs in the whole sport, right alongside the Big Ten, who is at the standard for a 9-game conference schedule that, quite frankly, for almost every single team is very difficult. It's not to justify that SEC schedules aren't difficult, but now you're at a level to where there shouldn't be any question marks at the end of the year as to who the best teams from the SEC are. It's as simple as that.
I've always been kind of a huge, and as a Big Ten guy personally, I've always been a huge proponent of the 9-game schedule, because not only does it really kind of show you who the teams are in the conference that will put themselves on that pedestal of, this is a national championship contender, or this is the team who could sneak into a 12-team playoff, if you know what I mean. And
right.
I think that with the SEC doing this, it's going to only allow them to, let's say hypothetically last year, going back to Alabama only playing eight conference games, they finished 9-3. What if it was 9 conference games and they finished 9-3? They might have snuck in instead of SMU. You never know.
No, you don't.
So I think that they're following a formula that the Big Ten has laid out. And I think it's really good that they're doing this because they're also implementing the fact that they have to keep a traditional like power program on that schedule that's from non-conference, whether it's
of course
from the Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, or Notre Dame. And I think the SEC is only going to become stronger as a whole because of this. Like they might beat up on each other more, but that's only going to make the committee respect the conference more, I think. And it's only going to allow the SEC to send more representatives to the playoffs. Hypothetically.
I also think it's going to spring a couple upsets that maybe people didn't see coming.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Conference game. Yeah,
absolutely. Because they're so heavy top to bottom. It's just there are so many teams that could beat a team in a given Saturday in the SEC. Like you can't really say that about the Big Ten because if you put a Purdue against a Penn State, we know what's going to happen. But last year, you put a Vanderbilt against an Alabama. No one thought Vanderbilt was going to win that game. They did. So that's the difference between like the Big Ten and the SEC.
Well, Purdue, they are ultimate spoilers. I mean, the SEC, the SEC has always been like a deeper conference than the Big Ten. I mean, the Big Ten's probably a little stronger at the top right now than the SEC, or at least last year they were. But my thought was more like
last two national champions.
Yeah, I mean, my thought was more like the SEC did this because, well, now that they have 16 teams, it's a lot. Like 8 conference games is kind of a joke when you're only playing. So you're only playing. So you have 50. Every team in the SEC has 15 potential opponents, and you play 7 of them. And you play 8 of them every year. That's like
it's kind of ridiculous.
That's
kind of ridiculous.
But like that's a little bit absurd. And I think one of the problems with college football is that it's way too small of a sample size when it comes to evaluating teams. Like we work with what we have, but ultimately it's a really small sample size in a really big league. There's there's 4, used to be 5, hence the name of the show, Forever Power 5. But now there's 4 conferences, 4 super conferences, in which teams don't all play each other. You know how weird that is? That would be like if the Mets and the Phillies, some seasons in baseball, just didn't play each other.
Didn't play each other.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
NL East teams that just never played each other. Like that's so absurd. And that's what it is in college football. We have these 4 divisions in the whole league that are too big for every single team to play each other.
I think it's also just kind of
baffling to me.
It is kind of ridiculous. Like, I mean, I kind of love the fact that, you know, in Alabama, Georgia, for instance, it happened last year. It's like we haven't seen this game in the regular season for a while because they weren't in the same division back when the SEC had divisions, obviously. But we're getting it back-to-back years now. And it's such like a rarity to see a game like that.
Super rare.
It kind of like adds excitement to it. But at the same time, it's kind of ridiculous that like, and talk about the Big Ten. I'll talk about Illinois quickly. Illinois is playing Ohio State for the first time in 4 or 5 years, Dan?
No, it's longer than that. Actually, the last time those 2 teams played, you have to go all the way back to October of 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And that's an in-conference opponent you haven't seen in 8 years?
Yeah, like I said, imagine if
that's
like the
insane.
Mets and Braves didn't play in 8 years.
Right.
That
doesn't make sense. It just makes no sense.
It should have been 5 years, but COVID canceled the Memorial Stadium game in 2020. So
okay, that's right.
Yeah,
I mean, like even the NFL in a sense, like they see the NFC sees an AFC division once every 4 years.
Right.
That's like more consistent than some conference games are right now in college football. That's insane.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's also like the thing with college football is that the problem with the scheduling is that it's random, which is a problem.
Random.
What's that?
It's extremely random.
Yeah. Like in the NFL, it's not random. It's very much in the NFL, for instance, it's all calculated based on where you finished the season before. In college football, it's completely random, and that's a big problem with these super conferences because these super conferences, obviously, all of the conferences, there's a huge difference between the top and the bottom. That we've got some teams that are just playing so much more difficult schedules than others, and like there's no perfect way of doing it, but there should be some mechanism where the scheduling isn't so random. like maybe it should be based on where you finished, the season before, something like that. That's probably how it should be.
I feel like it's kind of an unfair advantage to some college teams, though, because like, what if you have a Purdue like who went 1-11 last year, and then they just like get like the easiest teams above them in the Big Ten, the easiest, I guess I should say. Like, I think it's kind of an unfair advantage to some teams. So I don't know if I would agree with that necessarily, but I think it's just like, I think there's got to be some sort of like aspect to, there has to be some sort of like consistent rotation, like they have the protected opponents for each league, but
which is good. But I think there should be an implementation, and Will or Nick D, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think it would be cool if the two conference champions who played the two conference championship game participants who played each other the previous year, where it's almost a mandatory rematch every season. That would be interesting.
I would like that, because I think that would be good, because I think that it would be really difficult, especially in the really good conferences like the SEC and the Big Ten. By the way, I think that type of rule would be dependent on the conference. I think every conference would have their own rule in that sense.
Right, exactly.
I don't necessarily think all the conferences would do that, but in the really strong conferences like the SEC and the Big Ten, I think that would be good, because chances are the two teams that played in the Big Ten championship game the year before are going to be top contenders the year after.
Oh yeah, right, absolutely. Oregon and Penn State will be right up there again this year.
Right, which is exactly what's happening in late September when Oregon goes to State College for the rematch on a stacked day of college football to cap off the night. So
and also Texas goes to Georgia this year.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, well, the Big 12 and the ACC, especially the Big 12, because the Big 12 now, now that Oklahoma and Texas left, is like such a crapshoot. It's like you could just jumble up all the teams and anybody can come out of there. So the Big 12 might be a little bit different just because of how it is now. I mean, even if you look at the ACC, even like the ACC is not a strong conference, but I mean, Miami.
It's very top heavy.
Miami and Clemson might be top heavy.
There's also an ACC championship rematch this year.
Well, the thing is, they are top heavy, but like their top teams, I'm not too sold on even. I'm really not a fan of the ACC, the way the ACC looks right now.
Neither.
But in terms of this story, I think, yes, that's absolutely true. The SEC had to do it, but now the ACC has to do it. Now that the SEC did it, the ACC has to do it too, because this is getting ridiculous.
I agree.
Moving on to the
especially one more thing before we move on. Given all the scrutiny that the ACC is currently under, especially if the ACC wants to be taken more seriously, they should do something about this too, for sure, 100%.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about a Big Ten. We're calling it a Big Ten team because my system is still.
I still hate calling them a Big Ten team. I still hate it so much.
Imagine if I had told you UCLA, USC, Washington, and
Oregon
are all going to be Big Ten teams before Notre Dame joins the conference.
I wouldn't have believed it.
Like a joke.
I would have laughed in your face. I would have said, well, one, neither of those things ever going to happen because Notre Dame gets insane amount of money for media deals.
That's why they don't do
conference.
That's why they don't join the ACC, because of all the media deals. Anyway, so Lincoln Riley at USC, and
big year for him.
It's a big year for Lincoln Riley, and he has, I guess you could say, high expectations. I would say. I mean, look, all these college coaches have very high expectations. And the thing with college football coaches is that before they win a championship, every single one of them has some type of weird fatal flaw, for lack of a better term. Like, Brian Kelly, James Franklin, Lincoln Riley right now. It used to be Jim Harbaugh used to kind of fit this description a little bit. They always have some type of fatal flaw, and that's why they don't win they're not championship contenders, or they're overrated or something like that. And I said this last year. Lincoln Riley, to me, at USC, reminds me a lot of Harbaugh at Michigan in his first couple of years. This was Lincoln Riley's third season, and it was a rough year. Just like Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's third season at Michigan, how did that work out? It was a pretty bad year. And I think that these programs tend to go through growing pains. And I am not one to give up on these college coaches, especially when they've proven that they're good coaches. Like, I don't mean a guy who I don't think is a good coach.
Has he proven he's a good coach yet?
Do I think who's a good coach?
I'm saying, has he proven he's a good coach yet? Because I don't know if he has.
He's proven he's a good coach at Oklahoma. Can you say that?
Sure. Yeah, you could probably say that. You could probably say that.
Not at USC though. At least
it
so far.
hasn't transferred over. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's a similar thing with like Jim Harbaugh when he first got to Michigan. Like he proved he was a good coach at Stanford, and he proved that he was a good coach in the NFL, but he didn't prove it at Michigan yet. And and like
took a while, yeah.
But like, I just all I want to say is about Lincoln Riley is I want people to not forget history, and it's very recent history, 7-8 years ago, not that long ago, of what people were saying about Harbaugh. And a lot of the things people are saying about Lincoln Riley now sound awfully similar to the things that people were saying about Jim Harbaugh when he was at Michigan and he was struggling a little bit. I think sometimes it takes a little bit of time for things to work out with head coaches. I really just think that's just how it works a lot. And I think that he will be fine at USC. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. I'm not predicting that, but I'm predicting improvement. I am
too difficult of a midpoint schedule to justify me and or either of you guys putting them in the playoff. I would agree.
They're not a playoff team for me. They're too inexperienced. I think Mayava he needs to grow into his role as quarterback there this year, and they're going to face some adversity early on. I do think they will start 4-0, but the first loss comes to Illinois.
Yep.
That'll be like the first big true road test for them, and they're not going to be able to handle it.
It could end up being an undefeated versus undefeated game by that point in the year. You never know.
That's what I have it as. Yeah.
Well, their first two games are against Missouri State and Georgia Southern. So,
yeah, I will say this though. I think that the first interesting test they'll have is that Michigan State game. Because Michigan State will be an improved team this year, but I think USC will be able to win that just because it's at home and they are definitely the more experienced team and have a better coach.
But Will, would you agree that it'll be a closer game than what people think?
I think so. It depends how both teams start out too. Like I do think USC is going to roll through those 3 games and they might be on their high horse, not really ready for a Michigan State team that could come punch them in the mouth a little bit. Because they're not going to have any problems with Missouri State, Georgia Southern, or even Purdue on the road.
No, they won't.
I don't know. Like that Purdue game on the road is interesting because
Purdue only has one returning.
I know, but I do think Odom, the coach they brought in, is going to do a good job there eventually.
No, he will. He will.
This isn't about Purdue though. Obviously, this is about USC. No, I think that this year I have the Trojans going 8-4. Looking at the record. And that won't be like a record that Lincoln Riley is going to get tossed out of USC by any means. But fans are going to start getting a little restless with this because what was it, 7-5 last year? I know they still won. No, it was 6-6 last year. 6-6 last year, and they won the bowl game against A&M. So that might have given the fans a little hope that there might be some positive change coming, especially since Mayava pretty much played that whole game.
So if you have them losing to Illinois, who are their other 3? Who are its other 3 losses coming against? Would you say
they're gonna lose at South Bend? They're gonna lose on the road in Lincoln, and then I got them losing to Oregon.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So they're gonna. I look at their schedule. I think they will win every game at home. The only one that they might not is that game against Actually, they really should win every game at home. Michigan's the only home game that I think they could struggle in. But
you don't know because Michigan, they have Bryce Underwood, who's supposed to be the best quarterback in the country, or the top in the country, not the best quarterback. So we don't know how good Michigan might end up being really, really good next season. We don't know.
Yeah, we have no clue.
The only good news is that it's relatively early. They're playing on October 11th.
Yeah,
maybe
that
Michigan
still could be an early enough game for them. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, last season Michigan took a little while to get it together, and then they ended up having a couple of really good wins towards the end of the season. I think that
beat Alabama and Ohio State back-to-back games. You can't really get better than that.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
It's crazy that happened because that was the worst Michigan team in a decade.
They were bad. They were bad.
They were really bad
before Harbaugh. Like that's how bad, and they were still able to finish the season strong. So for me, I think that Lincoln Riley will be fine at USC in terms of his expectations this year. He's not like a James Franklin or a Brian Kelly type of coach who has really high expectations.
Right.
Like James Franklin is like he's, and we're gonna get into that in a minute, but like, you know, his whole thing is like, you know, they're almost like championship or almost at the championship or bust level. I mean, Brian Kelly is probably at college football playoffs at least or bust. Lincoln Riley's not quite at that level.
I think this is the last year he has at USC to like prove it, you know, like prove that you're actually worthy of having this role with a story program, because USC is supposed to be a team year in and year out that is a top 15, if not top 10 year program come the end of the year. And
I can't say I agree.
Yeah, I can't say I agree either.
I would not say that's true about USC because we've seen some really bad USC teams. It's not like Alabama, who's supposed to be at the top every year. USC is a big brand, but I think USC is a program I think is more comparable to say Miami or Texas, where throughout most of my life they were always a big brand, but they weren't consistently at the top. Like their branding is bigger than like their brand is bigger than like how good their teams are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess after like the Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush era, I mean, it wasn't exactly fantastic after that for a while.
Now the thing is with Lincoln Riley, he has to prove himself, but I wouldn't say the expectations for USC this year are super high. The other thing about USC is that I think that some programs carry a lot more pressure than others. I think that the thing with college football and all college sports and all college towns is that all of these schools, or most of them, not USC, but most of them are kind of in small town America where they don't have any professional sports. And, you know, that college football team or that college basketball team in some cases is really just life there. So there's a whole lot of pressure on these teams. Like in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, what do they have outside of Alabama football?
Nothing.
Right.
Not a thing.
Same goes for Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right.
Although,
So most, like when you look at like most of these schools, they're kind of in the middle. They're in places where there isn't a whole lot of stuff going on out in the sports world and in general
outside of those teams. Yes, exactly.
So USC is not like that. USC is in LA. Not only is USC going to be overshadowed by other sports teams, like professional sports teams,
but entertainment, the whole thing.
Right. It's way, way different when you're the head coach at USC or say Miami, or rather than if you're in Auburn, Alabama, because, you know, in Auburn, Alabama, you have to be successful to stick around.
Right.
USC, because, you know, there's a lot more pressure on you if you're the head coach in a town like Auburn, Alabama.
Right.
USC is a little different. USC, you know, they're in the same town as the Lakers and, you know, the Los Angeles Rams and the Dodgers. It's like,
right.
I do think it's a little bit different in that sense. And also, it's also just a new thing for USC playing in the Big Ten. You're going across country into like these cold weather stadiums, which you're not used to playing in. And, you know, not to mention probably a bit jet lagged because you're a couple hours behind everybody else. And Lincoln Riley didn't choose that. But that's also going to be an issue for these schools on the West Coast that are now playing in the Big Ten. I mean, that's outside of, you know, Lincoln Riley's control and everything. But like, I think that's another thing that has to be taken into account. And, you know, USC last year, the problem is the expectations were pretty high. I mean, remember, they beat LSU and everybody thought, oh my God, this USC team is so good. What was the quarterback? I don't remember the quarterback's name.
Miller Moss.
Miller Moss, yeah.
Miller Moss looked really good against LSU. But in reality, that was just Brian Kelly losing that first game, which he always does.
So typical. Happens all the time.
Now, I do want to move on to Kalen DeBoer. Expectations for Kalen DeBoer are much higher.
This is also an interesting one.
Not only are they higher, but I think they're clearer.
They're very clear.
They're much clearer.
Yeah. It's
Alabama football has one goal in mind each year.
Yeah, it's you better make the playoff or heads are going to spin. Because
go far in the playoff at that. Make a run in the playoff.
Here's the thing and same thing with Lincoln Riley and probably all of these guys. I don't think Kalen DeBoer's job is on the line. I don't even really think Lincoln Riley's job is on the line. You have to remember, first of all, it's only Kalen DeBoer's second season. Mm-hmm. You also have to remember that, teams
coaches get fired quickly, though. It's so weird.
They do.
Yes, but it's a little different now because now the thing is that the teams now have and don't really have the money to buy out their contracts so easily because a lot of that has to do with NIL. Because, they have these NIL budgets and they're competing with these other schools in NIL that they don't really have the money to just buy out their contracts.
No, they don't.
So that's another issue when it comes to fire. I feel like schools used to fire head coaches a lot quicker.
A lot quicker.
I mean, the thing with the SEC is that, there is this perception that sometimes that the SEC just, didn't hire good coaches. But that's not true. They did hire good coaches in the Saban Alabama dynasty. There were lots of good coaches in the SEC, but they were held to these impossible standards because of Saban. And this was pre-NIL, so Saban was able to be a lot more dominant then than he is now. But there were lots of good head coaches in the SEC. They were just held to impossible standards. It's different now. Now there is no Nick Saban. The closest thing to Nick Saban is Kirby Smart, and he's less dominant than he once was, even than a couple of years ago. I think the SEC landscape now is just so different than it used to be.
It's way different.
I mean, I think that if Gus Malzahn started as the head coach at Auburn in the NIL era, he'd still be there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really convinced of that.
I think so too.
So I think Kalen DeBoer will be fine at Alabama. I think he's a good head coach. I do think that the Alabama team under Kalen DeBoer appeared to be noticeably less disciplined and buttoned up under DeBoer than under Saban. But I think that's more a comment on Saban than it is on DeBoer, which is that Saban is the ultimate, he's the ultimate college football coach.
Right. I will say this too, and I think that's just a testament to players getting used to a new, a new program, because they I know that it's different in this world that DeBoer brought in guys, but there are still guys left over from having Saban there. Obviously Jalen Milroe, your quarterback, he was with Nick Saban the year before.
Yeah.
And I think that was just a testament to guys getting used to a new regime and a new program. But I will say this about Kalen DeBoer: Alabama fans are going to find out really who he is this year. Because
100%.
you have a stacked roster. You still have Ryan Williams. Ty Simpson should step in and be a really good quarterback for them this year. I did just see that their running back got hurt. He's going to be out for a few. I'm trying to remember his name right now. I'm blanking it out. But I did see he's going to be out for a month or so. So he'll miss the first few games.
At least 3 to 4 games.
Right. Yeah. That's going to hurt a little bit. But you're still loaded on defense. You're still loaded on offense. You should have one of the best offensive lines in the country. I think that Alabama this year, fans are going to start losing their minds if they go 9-3 or worse, because Alabama, you are expecting perfection. This is Alabama is the cream of the crop in college football. If you're not competing for national championships, they're losing their minds. And this year really could be a make or break year for Alabama fans, whether or not they're going to put up with Kalen DeBoer, because one, it is so hard to step into a program that Nick Saban ran for however many years he was there. I can't remember exactly how many
Since
it was.
07 or 08.
Exactly.
And 07.
And he won 5 national championships there. Is that it?
6.
Mm-hmm.
6. So it's just they have been so spoiled as fans that their expectation is to win a national championship every year. And now if they don't make the playoff this year, they're going to start losing their minds. It's like, guys, relax. You have a coach that's trying to fill in for arguably the greatest college football
coach of all time. Yes, exactly.
Like, Alabama fans, they're like the Yankee fans of college football.
Oh, they are for sure.
They expect a championship every year.
Same with Notre Dame fans too. You can make the same argument.
Well, the thing is, I don't think the record itself is the only thing. I think the record is an indicator, but I think there's more context to it. Like Alabama went 9-3 last year, but it wasn't a good 9-3.
No,
they struggled their way through it.
It wasn't.
Two of those losses were horrible.
One of them was against Vanderbilt, and the other was like they got killed by
Oklahoma. Got robbed.
And the Tennessee loss wasn't terrible, but it was a tough one. I mean, it was a game they probably should have been able to win. So it's not
actually finished 9-4 because they lost to Michigan too in that bowl game.
Right. But
I mean, that was like. I don't know.
But in the regular
season, games on the schedule to circle for this Alabama team, though. The game at Georgia is a huge game. The game at South Carolina is a big game. The LSU game is a big game. There's some games that, if they're not careful, a couple of really bad losses could sneak up on them, and we're back in the same position we were a year ago. So
I'm not worried about Florida State or Wisconsin. They're two like Power 5, Power 4 non-con games, but those are two power teams. I mean, you're going on the road to play Florida State. I don't think they're going to really have any problems with either team, like I said. But
no, I don't.
They're going to find out how they match up against a power opponent right away. So,
well, early in the season though, there's not as great of a difference between the teams at the top and in the middle. Earlier in the season, because the teams like the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Clemsons, maybe not so much anymore, but you know what I mean? Like the top teams in college football, like Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, whoever, they're deeper.
Oh, for sure.
As the season goes on, the difference becomes so much more apparent between those
very
teams.
Apparent.
Because
we're gonna know in October where they're really at.
Absolutely.
Now, the over-under wins for Alabama is 9.5.
I like the under on that. I don't know.
You?
I do, yeah.
I like I'm going over. I'm going over.
Really?
I got 10-2 for them, yeah.
I completely agree. I like the over for I like the over for them. I
could honestly see 11-1 too. I really could.
Well, I have their schedule right now.
I'm also looking at it.
I mean, you got to really watch out for week 2 for Alabama. They play UL Monroe.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. That's gonna be a tough one. Also, week 13, they got a juggernaut coming to town in Eastern Illinois.
I don't know.
And to think that starting next year, that's where a 9th conference game would be played, hypothetically. Thank you. Thank you.
So I think Alabama.
It's ridiculous.
I think they could go 11-1. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they lose on the road to Georgia. And then there's some games that are going to be I could see them losing to LSU at home, South Carolina on the road, and maybe even Tennessee at home. I'm unsure about Tennessee this year.
I would even say that Auburn on the road is always a toss-up. That's the biggest rivalry in the sport. Well, Michigan, Ohio State is, but
that's one of the reasons why I think the under is very possible is because of the Iron Bowl.
But I mean, look, South Carolina. Games. The thing with South Carolina is that they're always like a sneaky good team, and they're always
true.
And on the road, I mean, South Carolina should be ranked the entire year.
Alabama struggled last year. Alabama was lucky to beat South Carolina last year at home.
Yeah, lucky, very lucky.
And I think that between LSU, South Carolina, and Tennessee, all three of those are toss-ups. I say of the three of them, Alabama probably wins 2 out of 3. Mm-hmm. I don't really know how I feel about Tennessee so far, but the line is Alabama's giving 11.5, so they must be like
I'm not. Yeah, I
like
can't say I'm really
Alabama a
worried
lot.
about Tennessee at home. I don't think I think Tennessee's
But
going to take a step back
South
this year.
Carolina and LSU, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Nussmeier is going to look, but I'm very unsure about those.
I think that LSU Alabama game could be, for all intents and purposes, a game that eliminates one of the two from the playoff. Like if there's a situation where both teams come in with 2 losses, which is possible, it definitely is possible. A third loss at that point in the season is a backblow, a huge backblow.
And it could also eliminate the loser from the SEC championship game too.
It's true. It's true. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
And each of them could end up going. I mean, it is certainly very possible for each of those teams to go 10-2.
Absolutely. Both.
I mean, LSU week 1 plays Clemson. I'm not a big fan of Clemson, but this is like the most classic game that LSU is going to lose.
Oh yeah.
Is it not like the most classic LSU?
It's on the road too. I mean, they're going to Clemson.
Every year, LSU plays like a good team week 1, and they lose every single time. And they lose.
They're going to lose that one too.
So that I could see them losing. They also have some tough road. And like I said, they play at home against South Carolina. You never know with South Carolina. They play at home against Texas A&M. It depends on the state of – it depends on if that's after Texas A&M hits their high. You know, like Texas A&M, they always
have a stretch of like 6 games of the season where they're just rolling, and then all of a sudden they fall apart the last like 2 or 3 games.
Or they have like a real – so you know what? I think at that point, by the time Texas A&M plays LSU, they may have had their high already, or they reach their high when they play LSU. So – That game is a little bit of a toss-up because A&M, they're just so hard to predict every year. And then Alabama obviously is going to be tough. I mean, and on the road at Ole Miss is going to be tough. I could see LSU. I think they're probably going to go like 9-3. I think 9-3 would be is probably what they're going to do. Oh, I want to move on to your guys' team, Illinois. Expectations for Illinois. You guys are the reason I have
through the roof.
Yeah, through the roof.
I mean, so let me ask you guys what you think Illinois, what your expectations are for Illinois.
Sure. So I think it's because just before we really get started, I think there's bigger buzz. Well, I'm the one that's still at home. I think there's bigger buzz in the area than what I've seen in a very, very long time. Ever since I've started following the Illinois football program, the expectations could not be any higher. I think the national media is starting to catch on, but I still think there's undeserved doubt, which I don't fully understand. I mean, you have 16 of 22 starters back. Luke Altmaier's back at quarterback. At Bielema and Notorious.
I think it's because of our wide receiver room. I think that's why.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you lose Franklin and Pat Bryant to the NFL. That's challenging, but you still have a pretty good defense. You brought in some nice pieces in the portal.
Our defense has been great this year, yeah.
Yeah, and you have a schedule that's pretty manageable, in my opinion. I mean, the only 3 games you really have to worry about are Duke, Indiana, and Ohio State. So
I would throw Washington in there too on the road.
Yeah, because Washington's undefeated at home in their last however many games. Yeah, that's true.
They play really well there.
Well, true. What are your guys' final predictions on record?
I have us a 10-2. I think that we will not be able to pull one out against Ohio State. That's going to be a loss, unfortunately, as much as I want us to win that game. And I do have us beating Duke. It might be closer than we want it to be. We might have to pull that one out. That game kind of scares the hell out of me. Looking at our schedule, I won't lie, because that could really derail our season, right when it starts.
And that's where Bielema always struggles against the ACC on the road. Ever since he's been here, it's always like a sneaky trap game too.
I know, because the year we played Virginia got killed. But yeah, no, I think I have us a 10-2. I think Luke Altmaier is gonna be a top 3, if not top 2 quarterback in the league this year. Big Ten, that is. I really think Hudson Clement, the wide receiver we got from West Virginia, he's going to really emerge as a really nice slot receiver for this offense. We got a 2-headed monster at running back with Caden Fagan and Aiden Lawfrey. And Khalil Valentine will come in and contribute really nicely. All 5 of the offensive linemen are returning starters.
So that's awesome. The defense should be better than ever. We got incredible players in the secondary, led by Matt Bailey, Xavier Scott, Miles Scott, and obviously Gabe Akis, one of the best pass rushers in the entire country, returning for us too. So I think that the losses that I have are we won't be able to pull one out against Ohio State, and then we're going to lose one of the three between Indiana, Washington, and Duke. I do have us beating Duke, but I think we'll lose one of those two games against Indiana and Washington.
Okay. If you were to choose if you were to have a gut feeling, which one of those other two, where do you think that loss comes?
Washington.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I have Illinois going 10-2 as well, but I actually think the losses come to Indiana and Ohio State. I think those are the two, and I think Indiana is more of a heartbreaker than Ohio State. I actually think Ohio State probably beats us by a couple of touchdowns. The game is close for like a quarter and a half, and then Ohio State pulls away and puts up like 38, and puts the game out of reach early in the late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, but still good enough to make the CFP. I think.
I think Ohio State's going to be a heartbreaker personally, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to be a heartbreaker because you're not supposed to beat Ohio State anyway.
Right.
You're saying that you think that they're going to have a shot and like blow it.
I'm saying I think it's like going to be like a tie game at halftime, and we keep it close in the third quarter, and then like Ohio State scores like a late touchdown we can't recover from. Is
it going to be like the Purdue game from 2022 where the game was just stolen from Illinois at the end?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. So I do want to move on to finally James Franklin at Penn State.
This is the biggest year for him ever.
This is the biggest year ever.
Yeah.
This is so big.
This is officially his make or break year at Penn State.
It really is. It really is.
I think that I didn't look at the over-under for wins totals for Penn State this year.
I'm pretty sure it's 10.5, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right. I mean, so far in all the games, including against Oregon, and they're probably going to be favored in every single game that they play except Ohio State. Even against
that's going to be the only game. Yeah. Yep. Look at the schedule. That'll be the only game they're not favored in.
Including against Oregon, Penn State's favored. They're favored by 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
My prediction is they go 11-1 and just lose to Ohio State.
I agree. I'm with you.
I mean, people talk about, and we're going to get into this, overrated and underrated teams. In my opinion, I think the most perfectly rated team you can have is Penn State because they win all the games they're supposed to win, and they never win the games they're not supposed to win. But like that's kind of really how it is with Penn State. So I think they're going to beat I think they're going to go 11-1. I think that's what they're going to do.
I think so too.
I think they'll have a better season than last year. In terms of it being James Franklin's make or break year at Penn State,
he's got the best roster he's ever had there. That's the thing.
But here's the question though. When you say it's make or break, like what is making it for Penn State? Do they have to win the Big Ten? How far do they have to go in the?
Yes, they do have to win the Big Ten, in my opinion. They do.
Yeah, I agree.
They got to win the Big Ten. They got to make a run in the playoff. Now, granted, they made a run last year, I guess.
They can make a run in the playoff without winning the Big Ten.
No, they can. But I'm just saying, like, on paper, you had the best roster in the Big Ten. I mean, I look at Penn State's team, and I think that is the best roster in the Big Ten.
You think they have no, I think Ohio State is a better roster than Penn State.
I don't know.
I think Penn State's defense is better personally.
And I feel like Penn State has too much experience coming back, and they also have the best quarterback in the conference coming back too.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
and they got two of the best 5 running backs of the conference.
Literally, yeah. Two-headed monster, literally. So
I mean, what I think is probably going to happen is I think Penn State is going to lose to Ohio State in the regular season and probably in the Big Ten championship. That's what I think.
It'll be a rematch.
Now, in terms of like I was saying before with James Franklin, I think James Franklin's a really good head coach.
I do too. I just think I just think he gets out. I just think he gets out coached every year in the biggest games possible where they have to win.
In the same exact games, he gets outcoached
every single year.
Mm-hmm. Great coach, but he can't win the big games. So this is his year to do that, to prove he can.
I mean, but like, is that like what will that big game be? Is the question.
The first one's Oregon. The first one's Oregon.
I think he'll win that.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think they'll win.
They're at home too. It's the whiteout game. They have to.
But for some reason, that just sticks out as like, this is a typical game that James Franklin would lose. It's just because they lose games at home. They do.
I know.
But usually the games that they're losing, they're not expected to win. They're not usually like I think they're going to
ranked higher than Ohio State last year.
Like they weren't
that game at home.
But no. But what I'm saying is that they weren't supposed to beat Ohio State.
I don't know about that.
They were definitely underdogs in that game. That's the point I'm making. They like the thing with James Franklin is that he doesn't like he just kind of stays the same. Like he doesn't win games.
They may have been underdogs, but Ohio State made 2 more plays than Penn State did. It's where those 2 plays go the other way. Penn State wins the game.
Yeah, that's the point though. The point I'm making though is that like Ohio State was expected to win that game. Penn State could have won that game, and they didn't. That's usually what happens. Penn State doesn't usually lose these games where they're like 7-point favorites. That's the point I'm making. Like they're not losing those games. They're usually losing the games where they're a couple of points underdogs and they had a chance to win the game and then they didn't win the game. That's usually what ends up happening. I think they go 11-1. I think James Franklin. I mean, I think they probably don't win the Big Ten. I think they make a good run in the playoff and then they lose to a better team. That's what I think probably ends up happening. And it's going to be the same thing next year that we're all going to be saying the same thing. Like, that's what I think is going to happen.
Penn State is an endless cycle. It's an endless cycle.
They'll probably end up losing in the CFP semifinal again. It's probably going to be some crazy heartbreaker again. And it's going to be replayed over and over and over. And
this year will be to Texas. Forever Power 5 is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show.
Brett McMurphy, overrated and underrated list. Did you guys see this?
Yeah.
So
it's pretty interesting.
It is.
I have a little bit of an issue with it, which is that the problem with this overrated and underrated list is that it's based on preseason rankings relative to where a team finishes. The problem with overrated and anything that you can call overrated or underrated is that it's not a mathematical equation. It's critical thinking skills that lead you to those conclusions. It's not an equation that you can just mathematically prove. And I don't think that preseason rankings, I don't think these two things are the same thing. In other words, I don't think that
you can't draw anything from preseason rankings. You can't.
No, and not at all. I mean, the thing is, I think the thing with preseason rankings is that it's predicting how good a team is going to be before we've seen anything from those teams.
Right.
That's not overrating teams. That's just being off with your prediction.
Yes.
It's like an NFL or NBA draft bust. Was Jamarcus Russell overrated? No, he was just a bust. Nobody says Jamarcus Russell's overrated because everybody understands that he stinks. Just like Florida State last year or Texas A&M 3 years ago. Those teams weren't overrated. They just stunk, and they were expected to be good.
I mean, how do you expect a team to go from 13-0 to 2-10?
No,
how do you expect that to happen?
Nobody expected that.
Well, if you look at the problem, the problem with this list, wait, let me just pull it up for a second. The problem with this list is that all of the teams that are overrated
are like the top dogs.
It's all the top teams. Hold on, I'm just trying to pull it up for a second.
Yeah, Auburn's number 1, which they haven't really done a whole lot in the last handful of years. So when they do come in preseason ranked, it's like, what do they have to prove that? And then you go down to 4, it's Texas A&M. Another one, Oklahoma's at 8. I don't really know why Stanford's on there. Stanford's at 12. Stanford hasn't been ranked in forever.
Oh, you have the list?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on the list, they have on that list.
But yeah, like having a USC, having an LSU, a Texas, a Miami, a Clemson, a Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Notre Dame. Like, why do we have those? Ohio State's even on the list. Like, why do we have those teams on here?
They have
Michigan,
Ohio
too.
State, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson.
Nebraska being on here is actually pretty spot on. I won't lie. Nebraska gets way too overhyped heading into the season each year.
I agree with that.
LSU, Texas A&M. The problem with this list is that all the top teams are on it. So who's not overrated? Like, are you really going to tell me Alabama's been an overrated team?
Absolutely not. No.
Like, that's crazy. Alabama had the greatest dynasty. Are you going to tell me Clemson was overrated for all these? I mean, some years
I won't lie though. The top 4 do kind of make sense because Auburn, like I said, haven't really done much. USC does get overrated each year. Wisconsin was real solid for a while before Luke Fickell came in. I mean, they were always a really, really solid team under Paul Chris when he was the coach there.
I would say they were fickle.
And then Texas A&M, I mean, talk about a team who comes in with such high expectations every year, only to go 8-4 each season.
I just don't understand, just at first glance on this list, how in the world is Michigan number 10 on here? That to me doesn't make any sense. When Jim Harbaugh single-handedly turned the program around.
Well, the thing is, though, like I said, it's a mathematical equation. Like, that's really all this is. And the problem is that there are some, like, a lot of this is from teams, the reason some of these teams are so high is because they dropped off really, really, really far, just like 1 or 2 years. And by the way, some of this stuff, I mean, first of all, like talking about the overrated thing, every single team that is like expected to be one of the best teams, all the top teams are on there. Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, all the top teams in the past like 10 years are on that list or on that overrated list. So it's like, because Alabama is like ranked 1 or 2 in the preseason, like almost every year. Well, of course they're not going to live up to that every year. Another thing you have to look at is a lot of this is affected by injuries. Injuries affect that a lot too. And, like if you look at a team like Alabama, for instance, in 2019, when Tua's last season at Alabama, I don't remember where they were in the preseason rankings, but they were probably very high, probably 1 or 2 in the preseason rankings. And then they finished at like 15, maybe somewhere in the teens they finished. And that's because Tua got hurt. So that was just because of an injury. It wasn't like Alabama just ended up stinking. It's that was because of an injury. The truth is, and now if you look at Will, you have the list in front of you?
Yeah.
Can you take a look at all what are some of the underrated teams? Because
the ones that
are not teams that are really all that underrated. The truth is, overrated teams are much better than the underrated teams.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you look at this underrated list, like the first team is Northwestern. Northwestern has been abysmal for the last 4 or 5 years. They had a 1-11 year 3 years ago. They were 1-11. They were the worst team in Power 5 3 years ago, hands down.
Yeah.
Well, so Bama is number 2 that year.
TCU is 3, and to be fair, the year they went 13-0, right. Another one that's interesting is Louisiana is at 7. Louisiana, what? Tulane on here is actually fair because Tulane is always a really solid team and they never come in ranked. Never.
I mean, it's probably because none of those
Minnesota
teams were ranked in the preseason.
Iowa is a big team on here. So is Indiana. Iowa and Indiana. Yeah, but to be fair, Indiana was
awful before.
I would argue that Indiana should be on the overrated list.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think that
let them.
I don't even know if they belong on either of these lists. To be honest, they aren't underrated nor overrated.
Well, here's the thing, though. This is not like what the criteria that Brett McMurphy is using is different than overrated or underrated. Like it's a completely different thing. I mean, in reality, the most overrated and underrated teams are not going to be the teams that it will be popular to say are overrated or underrated necessarily. Because by definition, if everybody says if everybody agrees that a program's overrated, they're not overrated anymore. Now they're perfectly rated. You know what I mean? Like in reality, I think overrated teams are teams that either are big brands that don't have good resumes, like they have a bunch of not unimpressive wins, or it's teams that are not very good and that you don't normally think of as big names that have good records because they played an easy schedule, like Indiana, right, SMU, Iowa some years.
True.
I think those teams are overrated. I don't think it's the Alabamas and the Clemsons and the Georgias that are overrated.
No, not at all. That's why that list is pretty flawed, but
I agree.
Yeah. I do want to talk about this game briefly, give our predictions. Iowa State is playing Kansas State in Ireland this Saturday. Kansas State is favored by 3, and the over-under is 51.5. Over-under in an Ireland game, I'm not touching that.
No, I'm not either. It's
first game of the season. I'm going low. I am also over Kansas State with the spread here. I like Kansas State's roster a lot more than I like Rocco Becht, Iowa State.
Yeah, and I simply think Kansas State has a better quarterback and a lot more expectations to try to win the Big 12, and beating Iowa State would get them off to a great start. So
big rivalry game though, week 0.
Huge rivalry game, and they need early season momentum, because I feel like last year their early season momentum carried over, and once the end of October hit, their season just collapsed. So yeah, they need to get off on the right foot immediately, and I think Kansas State's going to show out, and they should be able to easily cover the 3 number. I would say by at least a touchdown.
Yeah,
I think I'm going Kansas State by a touchdown too.
I could see. I mean, look, Kansas State can end up winning the Big 10 this year. The Big 10, the Big 12.
Big 12.
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah, they could end up winning the Big 12 this year. I mean, I think. And Kansas State. I mean, the problem with Kansas State last year is that Avery Johnson was still a little raw.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Kansas State will be a much better team this year.
They will.
Me too.
They will.
Me too.
So I think I like Kansas State. I don't feel very strongly about it. That's just kind of what my gut tells me.
Avery Johnson should break out this year.
It should be. I think he should. But yeah, we don't really know. So quickly, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Let's give our conference winners. Let's give our conference.
Not Illinois. Penn State, Big 10. I do have Penn State winning the rematch of the Big 10 championship game. Big 12, Texas Tech. I like the Red Raiders a lot this year. I think they're a sleeper team in that conference. I think they're going to beat Arizona State in the conference championship game. SEC, I'm going with Texas. I think they're only going to lose one game, and they're going to win a rematch against Georgia in the SEC championship that they lost earlier in the year when they went there. And then ACC, I'm going with Clemson. Clemson is going to go undefeated 13-0 this year. And the one group of 5 representative I'm going to send to the playoff is going to be the Tulane Green Wave, the American.
Interesting. All right. Zain, you have yours?
Sure. So in the Big 10, I would agree with Will. In the SEC, I actually do like Georgia to bounce back, even though that's a bit controversial, just given how top heavy the SEC is going into this year. I would say the Big 12. There's some question marks there or two, but I could potentially see Texas Tech winning it. I think I'm gonna ride the wagon there too. And in regards to the ACC, I actually do think it's going to be between Clemson and Miami, but I think Clemson edges out Miami to win to win the ACC by year's end.
I agree with you.
Yeah, okay. So mine is the ACC.
And then I forgot to mention that the group of 5 representative that I have making the CFP is also is also Tulane by year's end too. So
yeah, for me the ACC I'm going to go with Clemson because I don't trust Miami.
It's the obvious choice. I mean,
I don't know how Miami's ranked so high.
I don't either.
Clemson, I will take. The SEC, I'm going to go with Texas, though I feel uneasy about it because it seems like Georgia has Texas's number. But Texas is supposed to be much better this year than last year. They have a new quarterback.
Yeah.
So we disagree there. Okay.
Yeah, Texas, I like Arch Manning more than I like Quinn Ewers.
Me too, a lot more.
I think I'm going to go with Ohio State again, although I'd like to see Penn State win it for a change. And then the Big 12, I think I'm going to go with Utah.
Really? Utah
winning it. I mean, it's a crapshoot.
The Big 12 is so interesting.
It really is.
Kansas State and Arizona State are tied for the favorites to win the Big 12. And then right below them at plus 550. And then right below them at plus 600 is Utah and Texas Tech.
Good value.
Yeah, real good value.
If I was a betting man, I would bet Texas Tech to win the Big 12, which I still might. But
you're not going to sprinkle a little bit, Will?
I very well might sprinkle that. I feel pretty confident about Texas Tech. I do like that team a lot.
Is plus 105.
That's
to win
also kind of good value, to be honest.
Plus 105. I mean, that's almost like a money line pick. Plus 105.
That's crazy.
Wow. That's crazy.
That heavy favorites. Wow.
And Ohio State is plus 200 in the Big Ten. They're a little bit higher than Penn State, but Penn State and Ohio State are by far the top 2 favorites. Yeah. And then in the SEC, hold on a second. In the SEC,
Texas is favored in the SEC. I'm pretty sure.
I think they probably are, but Georgia's probably not far behind. I
think they're pretty close.
Yeah, I just had this up. Okay, hold on. Let me scroll all the way. Here it is. SEC. Texas is plus 270. Georgia's plus 330.
Yeah, that's pretty darn close.
And then Alabama's not far behind Georgia at plus 380.
Yeah, no, they're right there too.
Yeah, they're not far behind, and then it drops off a lot. Then LSU is plus 700. That's way more. And then then Texas A&M is plus 1500. How is Texas A&M? So and then it goes way downhill.
I would have figured Florida would be higher than them, to be honest.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, Florida's a couple spots below. I mean, after LSU, I mean, even after Alabama and LSU is a big difference, but after LSU, there's a huge drop off.
You might as well not even look at them.
All right. So that's our show this week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm Nick DiMartino. That's Zain Bando. That's Will Charlton. We will be back next week. Next week, we're doing a shorter episode. We're doing just a bunch of picks for week 1. We're just going to be making a bunch of picks for week 1. So you can fade me if you want to win money.
And you can ride me if you want to win money. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. All right. All right. So see you guys then.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.